All right, we're back. What's up, y'all? I'm not gonna lie to you, this is my third time trying to record this video. The past few times I've tried to record after work, and those days, like, life has just been lifing, and I'm just super low energy. So hopefully today I can be a little more awake. But today I wanted to talk about this influencer that I came across while I was doing my diligent doom scrolling on TikTok. He was this influencer that I used to follow a lot a few years ago, and I felt like he just kind of disappeared after facing like this somewhat controversy. But turns out he just completely shifted his content, changed up, and now all he's doing is just living at home and just going on TikTok lives and asking people to send him money. And honestly, it's not going well. I've come across a few videos of people like clowning on him, making fun of him, and you know, it kind of sucks to see because I was a really big fan of this guy, and I'm not gonna clown on him on this video. Instead, I want to talk about the path that he could have taken instead of the path he took, and just kind of break down what went wrong and what he could have done differently to maybe potentially make this little like shift or rebrand type of thing work out better. So without further ado, let's jump right into it and let's talk about Hub's life. Hub's life, or Connor Hubar, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. We'll just call him Connor from now on. Connor rose to fame by doing ASMR and aesthetic vlogs of his day-to-day life as a regular 9-to-5 corporate employee. He started uploading on TikTok in 2022, where he would record himself doing cleaning around the house, cooking, or even just working from home. And this type of content was met with very low interactions. But it wasn't until 2023 that his videos really started to take off. Which, I know, right? We already talked about this whole thing with the romanticize your life, human core, just being in love with simplicity and conformity of life that came across in this time, right? We talked about Be Real last time, and I kind of figured when I was writing the script, I was like, this is very repetitive. So now we're gonna switch it up for next video, but for right now, we're just gonna move on. Hub's life demonstrated his daily routine as he got ready, went to work, got to work, and headed home, where he seemed to live alone with his dog. It was later revealed that he actually had a partner that he lived with, and they were actually about to start a family, but we'll talk about that later. At first, his feedback on the videos were very mixed. Some people praised his authenticity and even wished they had a simple life like that, commenting that a stable income and a home were the true definition of success, while others claimed that he was in the Matrix or that he was an NPC with zero personality. However, Connor kept posting consistently, and he slowly turned into this niche celebrity and a whole type of embodiment of this whole culture that we had talked about. And if you ask me, he had the perfect system, right? He went to work, he got paid to go to work, and to create content, all he had to do was record himself going to work. And as he posted that and gained interactions, it opened the path for him to get money off of social media, basically getting two incomes for one job, which is absolutely insane. Now, I'm not sure if this is actually true, right? But apparently he quit his job without telling anybody. The same job that his content was based around. And obviously he's not stupid. He knew this. So in order to keep creating that 9-to-5 content, he faked having a job. And when people found out about this, it caused a huge controversy in his community, but I don't really remember it that way. The way I remember it is he quit his job and he told people about it, and that's what made people mad. But maybe I'm just not like in the loop when that happened. One of my friends had mentioned that he remembered that happening, and I didn't really remember that happening. I checked his channel and there's a few videos of him saying that he's gonna quit his 9-to-5 job, something about putting in 2 weeks, stuff like that. So I felt like maybe it wasn't 100% true. I'm not sure. that's why this part's kind of brief. But the important part is that he did eventually quit his 9-to-5 job. And people felt like he was now offering content that went against his original values. Those values that seemed so inspiring to his loyal followers. He had made an image that went viral against the norms of fake social media and fake influencers. His whole online presence advocated for simplicity and the mundane. And now he had turned into one of those full-time influencers too, leaving his fan base with a feeling of betrayal. Now, it hasn't been all bad. Since then, Connor has become a stay-at-home dad, still making content of his day-to-day, cleaning the house, editing videos, and just spending time with his child. But his comment section is full of degrading comments, hate, and overall just horrible backlash, especially because he goes on TikTok Live and asks people to send him galaxies, which, if I'm not mistaken, is about $16. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I don't want to clown on him. Instead, I want to talk about what he could have done differently and the path and strategy he could have taken to soften this change of content and just this kind of like change in values, which maybe he did try to do, right? Maybe he did try to go down that path and this whole video is pointless, but I still want to share my perspective on how it would work. So since the beginning, Hub's life was seen as a mystery. He truly only showed what he wanted us to see. He showed very little personality, he never talked, and he rarely had anyone else in his videos. And when it was known that he had a partner, people were quick to find her page and start snooping to see if they could find more information about who Hub's life was behind the camera. Little side note here, her page is private now. But this next part, this whole strategy thing is based around content that I remember seeing when her page was public. She started posting video of Connor setting up his vlogs and recording himself, giving us a huge look behind the scenes of his content. And honestly, this is where everything could have changed. We as an audience were made to believe that his whole routine was done with him alone. And now we knew that his wife had been off screen the entire time. And really, instead of this being a problem, it actually added depth and strongly suggested that the mystery around Hub's life was curated. In the short clips on his wife's page, we saw more of Connor's personality. We saw him react, we saw him joke around, we saw him interact with his environment. And honestly, people loved seeing those moments. His wife's page felt a little more unexpected, a little warmer, a little more human, more separate from Hub's life's robotic, routine, like same thing every day type of content. And I feel like that's also why people really started gravitating towards it and why she kind of started building a little community of her own. And that little community was the perfect path for a natural sort of soft rebrand type of thing. So let me break it down. Here's how it would work. While Connor was still working his 9-to-5, that behind the scenes perspective could have slowly expanded by simply adding more context, more personality, and more honesty. Even their dynamic as a couple could have been gradually introduced, allowing us as the audience to understand that the routine that we had grown to love still existed and it just wasn't happening in isolation. This could have preserved the original appeal while adding a new layer to their content. And like I said, with his wife creating content and creating this small community, that would obviously lead to her being able to get money off of social media, making it possible for both of them to step away from corporate life in order to pursue a more enjoyable and stable lifestyle and to be more available for their firstborn child. Because what I also saw coming from a lot of the hate comments was that people really criticized Connor because while he was at home just creating content, his wife still had to go to work and work a 9-to-5. Realistically, the issue was never that Connor quit his job. It was that the meaning behind the content disappeared overnight. His image wasn't a man with a corporate job. It was structure. It was simplicity and a rejection of flashy, fake social media culture. And when he left his 9-to-5, there was nothing reframing those values, no explanation of what Hub's life was now. And to the audience, it didn't really feel like growth or evolving, it felt like a contradiction. Because really, a rebrand only works if the audience can connect to it. That's why we see so many current brands, just like even just by changing their logo, people backlash it because they just can't connect to it and they can't understand the process behind it. Honestly, I think that if Connor had shifted his content narrative to finding stability in a different way, such as preparing for a child, choosing time with his family over his 9-to-5 job, or just overall redefining success, I believe that people would have understood his path. Especially if that shift stayed rooted in the same calm, intentional lifestyle that made his content resonate in the first place. Instead, the shift of content just kind of felt a little abrupt and disconnected from everything that had built him up. Had Connor leaned into transparency and storytelling, I believe that Hub's life could have evolved into something new without losing trust. His routine didn't need to stay the same. It just needed a little more context. And that's where his rebrand or shift failed. It wasn't because his path changed. It was because he did it abruptly and because he didn't invite the audience to be a part of the process. That's it for today's video, guys. Like I said, it took me a while to get this video out. Life's been lifing, and I've just been super low energy these past few days. I hope that this is the final draft of this video and I can just edit it and get it out to y'all. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't, or if you have any advice or tips on how I can change my content to make it better, let me know in the comments. Feel free to check out any of my other videos. And that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for being a part of the Outlet Project. I'll see you next time. Bye.